7 reasons why chosen ones secretly struggle with lust. Behind every anointed voice, every chosen vessel, and every holy remnant lies a secret battlefield. It is the war that few speak of publicly, but one that is waged fiercely in the silence of the night, in the mind, in the imagination, and often in solitude. It's not the battle of finances, not the warfare of persecution, nor even the pain of rejection. It is the secret war of lust. Many believe that those chosen by God, those with prophetic insight, healing anointings, or strong spiritual disciplines, are immune to the temptations of the flesh. But this assumption is both dangerous and far from reality. If anything, the deeper your calling, the more intense your temptation. If the enemy can seduce the vessel, he can silence the voice, distort the message, and halt a move of God. Lust is not simply about sex. Lust is a demonic perversion of divine desire. It is hunger hijacked. It is intimacy twisted. It is worship misdirected. And for the chosen ones, this struggle often remains hidden behind layers of shame, silence, and performance. Why? Because admitting this weakness feels like forfeiting the mantle. But today we unveil the truth, not to shame, but to set free. Let us journey through 7 profound and often overlooked reasons why chosen ones silently wrestle with lust. Each point is not only spiritual insight, but a mirror for self-examination. This is for the prophets, intercessors, worshipers, leaders, and those whom God has called apart. If you've ever wondered why your secret struggle seems to contradict your sacred calling, this message is for you. 1. Lust attacks the anointed because of their spiritual sensitivity. Chosen ones are spiritually sensitive by nature. You can walk into a room and feel the atmosphere shift. You can discern pain behind a smile, hear God's whisper in the chaos, and sense demonic presences without anyone saying a word. But this sensitivity is a double-edged sword. The same spiritual receptors that allow you to hear from God also make you more susceptible to sensual atmospheres, sexual energy, and emotional soul ties. While others may shrug off a lustful scene in a movie or a flirtatious encounter, you feel it deeply. Your spiritual antenna picks up what others are numb to, and because lust is not always obvious, it often disguises itself in emotional connection, admiration, or deep conversations that bypass your logic and go straight to your soul. When you're spiritually sensitive, lust doesn't come through the front door. It seeps in through emotional vulnerability. It speaks to your need for connection, your craving to be known, your ache to be understood. And if you don't guard your gates, your eyes, ears, and emotions, lust will infiltrate your spiritual radar and deceive you into thinking it's something holy when it's not. The enemy is cunning. He won't tempt you with what's obvious. He'll tempt you with what feels prophetic, poetic, even anointed. He'll make lust feel like love. He'll cloak sexual temptation in spiritual language. And if you're not anchored in discernment, your own sensitivity can become a snare. 2 dots. The higher the calling, the greater the attack. Spiritual warfare isn't random, it's strategic. Hell doesn't waste bullets on people who don't pose a threat. If you're marked by God, you're targeted by hell. Lust is one of Satan's most effective tools against the chosen because it doesn't just cause you to sin, it contaminates your conscience, your clarity, and your confidence. When you fall into lust, even in secret, you begin to withdraw from the presence of God. Not because he leaves you, but because shame makes you hide. And if the enemy can disconnect you from intimacy with God, he can rob you of your power. There's a reason Samson's story is filled with sexual compromise. There's a reason David's legacy was almost derailed by Bathsheba. There's a reason Solomon's wisdom couldn't save him from the snares of foreign women. Lust has always been the assassin of the anointed. The higher you go in the spirit, the more vigilant you must be. You don't just need discipline, you need deliverance, boundaries, and accountability. Because the enemy will wait until your influence is at its peak to unleash the most seductive attack. He doesn't just want you to sin, he wants to scandalize you. Chosen ones must recognize that their struggle with lust is not merely personal, it's prophetic. It's an assault on your assignment, a demonic interruption of your destiny. The devil isn't just after your body, he's after your legacy. 3. The isolation of being. Set apart can breed compromise. One of the hardest parts of being chosen is being alone. Before God uses you publicly, he often separates you privately. This season of isolation is where your character is forged, but it can also be where your weaknesses are exposed. The loneliness that comes with being set apart is not always physical, it's emotional and spiritual. You can be surrounded by people and still feel misunderstood, disconnected, or unseen. And in that loneliness, lust offers a counterfeit intimacy. Late at night, when there's no one to talk to, when you're burdened by intercession, when you're tired of always being the strong one, lust whispers comfort. It doesn't show up as sin, it shows up as relief. It offers dopamine when you're drained. It offers a false sense of being desired when you feel invisible. It offers a temporary escape from the weight of your calling. The danger is that when you're isolated and emotionally hungry, your standards start to bend. What you once called sin, you now justify as human weakness. And before you know it, compromise becomes your coping mechanism. Chosen ones must learn how to steward solitude without falling into seduction. Isolation is holy when it leads you to deeper intimacy with God, but it's deadly when it drives you into the arms of lust. You need community, accountability, and spiritual covering. You need people who can see behind your title and speak to your soul. 4. Spiritual sensitivity also means emotional vulnerability. There is a unique burden that rests upon the shoulders of those whom God has marked. Chosen ones are not just spiritually called, they are spiritually wired in a way that makes them feel everything. Their hearts are like antennas, constantly picking up frequencies others ignore. They walk into rooms and discern heaviness in the atmosphere before a word is spoken. They can sense tension, pain, or spiritual warfare without explanation. They feel the weight of people's hearts even when smiles mask it. This is not imagination, it's divine perception. This heightened spiritual sensitivity is part of the prophetic DNA many chosen ones carry. It allows them to minister deeply, love compassionately, and weep over things the world has grown numb to. But here's what few people talk about. That same sensitivity that makes them powerful in the spirit also makes them vulnerable in the soul. You see, when you feel deeply, you hurt deeply. Rejection doesn't just sting, it shatters. Betrayal doesn't just disappoint, it devastates. Abandonment doesn't just inconvenience, it rewrites your identity if you're not careful. Chosen ones often grow up with profound emotional wounds, not because they are weak, but because they are wide open. Their souls are like sponges, absorbing the atmosphere around them, whether it be encouragement or toxicity, affirmation or abuse. And herein lies the spiritual danger. Unhealed wounds become open doors. This is how lust gains a foothold in the lives of even the most consecrated individuals. Not because they're perverse or carnal, but because they're in pain. Lust presents itself not as sin, but as comfort. It poses as a salve. It whispers, "Let me ease that ache. Let me soothe that rejection. Let me distract you from the weight of your emotions." And for a moment, it works. The scroll on Instagram, the fantasy in the mind, the attention in the DMs, it all numbs something real, something raw. Not because the chosen one is driven by uncontrollable desire, but because they're looking for relief from emotional pressure no one else sees. This is the silent epidemic among those who are truly called. They function at high levels spiritually but are crumbling emotionally in private. They cry during worship yet wrestle at midnight. They fast for others' deliverance but fall into internal torment when no one is watching. And the church rarely talks about this. We preach against lust, but we rarely diagnose why it's so seductive to those who are wounded yet anointed. The truth is, lust is not always about sex. It's about escape. It's a spiritual anesthesia. For the chosen one who feels everything, especially in seasons of loneliness, isolation, or grief, lust becomes a counterfeit companion. It offers the illusion of intimacy without the vulnerability of real connection. It gives a high, a rush, a distraction, but it never heals. It only delays the real healing God wants to do. To overcome this trap, chosen ones must stop treating lust as a moral issue only and begin to treat it as a symptom of emotional disconnection. The question should shift from, "Why do I keep falling?" to, "What pain have I been avoiding?" They must ask, "Where did the wound begin? Who hurt me that I never forgave? What memory still haunts me at night? What unmet emotional need have I been trying to silence with counterfeit intimacy?" Healing begins when the wound is exposed to the light of God's love. Chosen ones must allow themselves to feel, not just spiritually, but emotionally. They must give themselves permission to grieve the abandonment, mourn the betrayal, process the rejection, and above all, they must bring those wounds into the presence of the healer, not the arms of a temporary pleasure. The Bible says in Psalm 147, verse 3, "He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds." That promise is not just poetic, it's prophetic. God is not intimidated by the emotional intensity of His chosen ones. In fact, He created them that way. And those hearts must be protected, nurtured, and healed so they don't keep seeking comfort in shadows, but instead abide in the light of Christ's unwavering love. 5. Unhealed trauma and childhood exposure. Many chosen ones come from broken homes, turbulent upbringings, or past sexual abuse. Their spiritual call was evident even in childhood, and the enemy often tries to destroy what God ordains early. Exposure to sexual sin, whether through molestation, porn, or parental dysfunction, plants seeds of lust that grow in silence. When chosen ones don't confront their past, it shows up in their present. Secret struggles with masturbation, fantasy, and sexual compromise are often the fruit of unhealed roots. Deliverance requires truth, not denial, and many are silently bleeding while wearing a robe of righteousness. 5. The church talks. Holiness but not healing. The modern church preaches purity but avoids transparency. It shouts about abstinence but whispers about addiction. Chosen ones are often placed on pedestals, expected to be perfect while still in the process. The pressure to perform leads to suppression. No one confesses their struggle for fear of being disqualified, but what isn't confessed can't be cleansed. So many chosen ones battle lust in silence, hiding their urges behind worship, tongues, and church activity. They cry in secret, fast in private, and sometimes fall, because the church gave them law but not love. They need safe spaces to bleed without being stoned. 6. The devil hates their purity. At its core, this battle is spiritual warfare. The enemy doesn't attack your purity just to get you to sin. He attacks it because it's the oil that fuels your purpose. Purity isn't just about sex, it's about power. When a chosen one walks in purity, their prayers shake realms. Their worship shifts atmospheres. Their words break chains. But when lust enters, it leaks the oil. It dims the light. It pollutes the stream. That's why the attack is relentless, because the enemy knows the moment you walk in full purity, unshackled by lust, hell trembles. You're not just a target because you're weak. You're a target because you're powerful. If you're a chosen one and you've been secretly struggling, this is your moment of truth. Your struggle doesn't disqualify you. It just means you're under attack. But you don't have to fight alone. Bring it to God. Seek accountability. Get healed. Get free. The world needs your light. Don't let lust dim it.